What's your intro?
What is my intro?
What's the show called?
Stories.
Stories. Awesome.
Yeah. Welcome here to HWH Network, and we are here with Kevin, and you are watching Stories. So Kevin, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
That was my intro.
Awesome intro.
Thank you. So what I want to do is just talk to you about, I think there's a lot of people who know who you are, and even myself, I've known you for quite a few number of years.
Yeah.
It actually
Close to 3.
It has been quite a while. So what I want to do is just ask you about your story, your life. So going way back in the beginning, when you were a kid, what were you doing? What were you involved with? Business size, non-business, and then just tell me who you are.
As a kid, I was really young. That would surprise everyone, I'm sure. That's as funny as I get. Sorry. So look, I just grew up in suburban Sydney, down towards Cronulla. I'm still a Sharks tragic through and through. So happy we won the grand final last year, and next year too, as well. Absolute tragic for the Sharks. So, but apart from that, just typical suburban upbringing. You know, back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s, going through my younger years, Australia being a very Christian place, grew up in a household, went to church, did all that sort of stuff. I don't do that these days.
We'll pray for you.
Maybe you should. But it taught me a lot of really cool things. It taught me a lot about inclusiveness. It taught me a lot about caring for other people and that sort of stuff. Early on, I never really thought I was entrepreneurial, but one of the things that I have realised is that I have been. One of the first things I did was I was a paperboy, and not just throwing papers over the fences, but blowing the whistle and selling papers and that sort of stuff. And I would sell
old school stuff.
Old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to ride a bike around the neighbourhood, like with a basket on the front, and I would sell out of papers most days, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was just because I would always have a bit of a chat. I've got an outgoing personality most of the time, and I would have a bit of a chat with the people as they'd come out and do that. And so there's a lot of old people in the area, and they would love to have a chat, so they would come out to have a chat with the paperboy.
Yeah.
The other guy that did it when he got a driver's license went around the area, and it wasn't flat where we grew up. It was uphill, down dale. It was a 20-kilometre trip that I was doing after school delivering papers. That's where I was meant. I left that because I got an opportunity to go and work in a shoe shop, and when I was working in a shoe shop, that was really cool because I used to just do stock, but then if they were short-staffed, I would sell shoes.
So how old were you now selling shoes?
Selling shoes. So I was in year 11, so I would have been 16, 17, something like that. 16. Yeah.
16, and you were doing the paper when you were...
I was doing the paper since I was about 12, I think, 12, 13.
Yeah.
13, I would have been at least 13. Yeah.
Okay, so paper was sort of like your first sort of entrepreneurial thing, and then from that, your next one would have been your...
Yeah, and I got paid a commission on the papers you sold as a paperboy. That's how it used to work back then. You don't get an hourly rate or anything. It's just, hey, here's what you sold, here's 12.5%, there you go. Yeah. And so I'd sell some magazines and that sort of stuff as well as I was going around. But anyway, then I went then I went to do shoes. I hate feet. I really hate feet, and I think I got a phobia from when I was selling shoes. Really freaky story there. But what the whole shoe stuff was really funny because when I was short-staffed, I'd sell shoes. I actually started selling more shoes than the people that were working all day. And I'm a little bit competitive, just in case you haven't picked that up already. So it was really cool that I was doing that. When I finished year 12, I went off and I got a job with IBM. Back then, IBM was the biggest computer company in the world. Basically, they were bigger than the addition of their 5 nearest competitors. So number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 added together didn't add up to as big as IBM were. That's how massive. They were kind of in the space that Google is today, if you think of it like that. And somehow now nothing. So they had an advertising campaign. Nobody got fired for buying IBM. I like to think that their demise started the day I left IBM, but maybe not. Maybe they had nothing to do with each other. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
That's great.
I was an accountant. When I left school, I became an accountant. So I went through an accounting cadetship with IBM, and basically I worked full time and studied part time.
Yeah.
So basically, back then I would do 3 subjects a week after work. They gave me one afternoon off, so I'd do one subject then, and I took 6 years to do my accounting degree. So I worked for a couple of Fortune 500 companies as an accountant. So I worked for IBM, was there 3.5 years, and then I went off and worked for Unilever, or Lever and Kitchen and Unilever, and now I think they've merged with someone else, whoever. Went over and worked for a small computer mob, but then went back into, worked for Rothmans at Pall Mall. Yeah, I had lots of jobs as an accountant. I did work, it took me 10 years, but I worked out that it wasn't the companies that I didn't like, it was actually accounting. Who would have thought? So 10 years, 5 jobs, one of them was for nearly 4 years, so do the maths. Yeah, some didn't last so long.
That's right.
Yeah. So when I left there, when I stopped working as an accountant, I had a bit of a sabbatical. I went and worked for Greenpeace.
Greenpeace.
Yeah, and I'm a bit of a capitalist, and when you work for Greenpeace, your ideals may not be quite associated with those of most of the people working for Greenpeace. It's really interesting. It's something I'm even uncomfortable talking about. But no, look, I loved working at Greenpeace. It introduced me to people who I never would have met through my normal life, particularly the life I had back then. And it showed me another side of life. And I guess that really did open my eyes up to different things and everything. Around that same time, I got married. I'd got married earlier while I was working for Rothmans. I got married. We had a baby that died, which was really, really sad. And it really screwed up a lot of my thought processes, but we'll come to that another day. It actually changed the way that I treated everything accidentally, because to protect myself at the time, I had to think in a different way. And sometimes stuff happens, and that's just one of the things of life. But it really, 2 years further on, my wife left, and not because I was treating her badly, not because she was a bad person. It was just she just didn't trust the union of us to have babies and that sort of stuff, and so so it was a bit sad. But anyway, moving on, I've worked a lot on myself about that more recently. I had that realization that I kept putting myself from there on. I had only short-term relationships, and I kept unconsciously seeking people who weren't really after a long-term relationship. Hey, I'm 50 and I don't have a child. Because I kept putting myself in a position where I wouldn't have one. Never realised that that's what I was doing until I saw the pattern.
Until you look backwards and you see it, yeah, for sure.
So we make up stories in our head, and we protect ourselves in different ways, and it's really important not to do that. Over this time, I'd got into recruitment, and I did a good job as a recruiter. I was Adecco, one of the world's largest, they were the world's largest recruitment company in the world. So once again, I joined a company, they were only the second largest, they became the world's largest. Pretty cool. Then I left. And now they're not.
So there must be
coincidence?
Something there, right?
I think not. IBM, them, so I left and I set up my own recruitment company back in 1999. I moved up to Brisbane after splitting from my partner. Am I just rabbiting on?
No.
Is this what I'm meant to do?
Yeah, that's exactly what you're meant to do. We're finding out who you are, I love it. So
cool.
I didn't know you ran a recruitment business, so that's why it's...
Yeah, from 1999 through to... in 2012, I said to my business partner, I said, I want out. In fact, I'm going to tell you the whole story. You may recall there was this little thing called a GFC.
Yep, 2008.
Yeah, yeah. So GFCs and recruitment companies aren't great friends. Okay. Pre-GFC, our recruitment company, we had a turnover. We had 15 staff and a turnover of $3.5 million. We're going pretty good because I had no real goal or ambition. I was making enough cash to spend it all, and still accidentally save money, which that was all I really wanted. I wasn't trying to be a millionaire or anything like that. I was having a great life, lots of fun. Probably wasn't a very nice person, but we won't focus on that. I was pretty arrogant back then. I actually thought I was the business and that the business was me. And then the GFC came. And so when you think you're the business and a GFC comes along and it says business in general sucks, you go, I suck. I'm a crap leader. I'm a crap everything. And actually turned it around to be, I was no good. Because we had a turnover of $3.5 million and our rent was $200 grand a year. And when your income goes from that down to under $400,000 and your rent's still $200 grand a year, and you've got other expenses because you held on to the staff too long, so you owe the government, let's just go a truckload. That would be the official answer. Life's not very comfortable. And so basically I go into work and over time we let all the staff go, and we were trying to build our way out. We let out most of the office. We still had a rent bill of 75 grand a year, and that was for a tiny room that smaller than most boardrooms. So it was very expensive for what we're doing, and a big chunk of our revenue. And when we're trying to pay the government back and everything else, and hey, we're post GFC, so there's lots of people unemployed. Business in general aren't really focused on growing rapidly right now.
That's right.
So recruitment probably wouldn't be the let's get into that this minute type industry. Particularly once you've got a really bad attitude around it. So anyway, moving along. It was pretty dark days, and I can actually recall I knew that I was in a really bad place. I'd shut myself off. I was saying earlier that I was speaking to my sister, and she said, I didn't know what you went through. And I wrote a book. We'll get to that a bit later.
Yeah, cool. Well, before we get to that, we're just going to have a short break. So you're watching HWH Network and you're watching Stories. We'll be back just after this short break. To stand out, be confident, win a crowd, grab that sort of persona. Want to create that confidence, and confidence is an act. So let's learn how to act better. We are running workshops. Come and join us. We've got a full day workshop. You're going to love it. It's very practical. Welcome back. You're watching HWH Network and this is Stories. So you were just saying in the break there that you went from the recruiting business and it was a really hard time, and you went into a next venture. What was that process like and moving forward?
Yeah, well, to actually leave the recruitment business, I said that I thought I was a recruitment business, and I actually, when it was going really poorly, I felt like I was broken. I can recall standing on Water Street in Brisbane in Fortitude Valley and chatting to a guy who was, I was looking for him to coach me, and I was actually on interview. I didn't know it at the time, and I said to him, mate, look, it's kind of like this. It was about a 30-degree day. I can recall everything about this moment as clear as it's happening right now. And I said, it's kind of like this. You see, I think the recruitment industry is broken. The whole, contingency will pay you if you get a job, but they farm it out to 10 people. It's not sustainable. My business model is broken. I've got partner who owns a quarter of the business, yet everything is 50-50. He's just had a child and doesn't really want to work hard. And right now, post GFC, we've got to work our butts off just to get our head to try and break even. And I said, I've got to be honest, I think I'm broken. What I didn't tell him was that the night before, and it was only for a flash, I actually were doing the sums on if I was to die, how good that would be for the business and my business partner and other people. It was only for a second, and then I went, hey, and unfortunately I think my dog,
snapped you out of it.
Smacked me or whatever, and as they do, and just brought me back to life. So, and literally just re-energized me. So, and that's when I realized how broken I was. But I got to that low. I then decided to embark on a journey to fix me, knowing that I was broken. And so we did that, and I didn't know where I was going to go. But through working with him, I decided, hey, I love helping people, and that's why I got into recruitment in the first place.
Yeah.
And going into coaching gave me that opportunity to help people as well. And so I started embarking on that. And I thought I wanted to help people as individuals, but I also wanted to help small business owners. And I knew, because of where I'd been, that small business owners need help. Although I never realised how prevalent, as we were talking about, that connection between anxiety and depression and small business ownership really is.
For sure, yeah.
I'm seeing it more and more. And hey, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not the guy to fix people who are in that state, but I can help people run businesses that will help them be better, and that's not the main point. At the same time, or 2.5 years ago, I started up Brisbane Small Business, a community of small business owners, and I stuck at it. When times were crap, I stuck at it. It took me 10 months to get 100 people into this group. Maybe I'm really bad at social media. But I stuck at it.
Yeah.
And I can recall in the 11th month, we're doing cartwheels because we had 20 people join, and this is awesome, yay, we're on the way. And, and these days we've got 4,500 people. If we don't have 50 people join in a week, I'm scratching my head and going, what did we do wrong? We've done something wrong. Hell. And what can we do more? So, it's been quite a journey with that, a lot of persistence, and I've copped a bit of flack because we have some basic rules in the group about, hey, it's a networking club, it's not a spam fest. Come along and help each other out and ask cool questions and provide support. Don't just start selling stuff. And so, when we do remove people if they do the wrong thing, I get a lot of personal stuff come back at me because of that, because we actually deliver what we said we were going to. Yeah, which is really quite tough. But in the process of that, I wrote a book.
So tell us how you. I've lost my question now.
How I wrote the book?
Tell me the story behind the book and what motivated you to write the book, and the link between this and the group.
Cool. This and the group kind of aren't linked in one way, but they are, because I use the methodologies that I've got in here in building the group. But I was helping businesses, and I was getting them in small groups together so that we could do some group training, and then I'd do one-on-one coaching. It's a really cool method, it works really well. And I found with the first group that I was putting through, I developed my own IP because I'm really stubborn. And rather than following what other people tell me, I decided to go and develop my own stuff. And what we found in month 4, everyone was recruiting staff. But we hadn't planned. They hadn't all said, I want to go and expand. But all of a sudden, by month 4, all but one person, and that one person was in a government contract as a consultancy at the time. So they couldn't recruit staff. But everybody else was recruiting staff. And I went, oh, maybe we've got something here. And speaking to others, they went, hey, yeah, you should write a book about this. This sounds pretty cool. And up until then, I never thought, like everyone says, hey, get into coaching, every coach wants to write a book and blah, blah, blah. I never thought I had anything to share until that day. And then all of a sudden I went, hey, maybe this is really cool stuff, and maybe I should start helping people find out more about it. So what I did is I started studying the correlation between emotional intelligence and how people go about building and growing and leading their businesses. And I actually found out that most small businesses or most businesses there is zero correlation between emotional intelligence and the business. So what I did, I thought, wouldn't it be cool? Because emotional intelligence is the greatest predictor of success. Okay, it accounts for almost 70% of success in an individual. So if it can account for that, if we could put that into a business, then we could lift the performance of a business. And so I looked about at different coaching models and how we could get them. And look, I've got to say, I experimented with a whole lot of different models and how we were joining things up. And a lot of them, looking back on them now, really funny, and B, just crap. But you know, all great inventions come about because somebody was prepared to play about with what was the status quo at the time. And so I just kept playing about until I got the right thing. And then with this group, we actually found the right connection. And we, you know, basically we found that if you really get self-awareness about where you're going and where your business is, it applies to people and businesses alike. So if you get really clear and self-aware about what you're trying to achieve, you find what your purpose is and you really live and die by that. But then you couple that with creating values that will drive you there. Okay? You know, you'll set a great platform that will give you a platform that will help you overcome those overwhelming situations. Overwhelm is simply, I've got too many options and I don't know what to do. I've got too much on, I don't know what's important. I've got too much time, right? And so the way to get through overwhelm is to get really clear about what you're really trying to achieve, and then all of a sudden, it's really obvious what you've got to start with. And once you take that first step, things can start rolling into place. The next thing we need to do as we start doing that is we need to build confidence, because self-doubt's the next thing that kicks in. We talked about it takes, you know, that I took 9 months after I'd written the book to produce it, because of all my self-doubt. But self-doubt is about having a structure about what you're doing, understanding, you know, the character that you're trying to be and that you're trying to deliver, and then having a structure that enforces that character. And as you do that, it's like, you know, did you play soccer as a kid?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And when you first started, you're pretty crap, or were you just?
Oh man, I was
naturally brilliant otherwise.
I was amazing. Yeah.
I wasn't. See, my surname's Gammie, and I do have the Gammie eye-hand coordination gene. Really bad jokes still. But what we've got is, you know, when you practice, you get more confident because you're putting a structure around something and you're being consistent about it, and your confidence builds.
Definitely. Yeah.
And when you've got self-doubt, all you need to do is practice that more, right? You could call it strategic desensitization if you really have to. I just call it practice.
I like the second.
It sounds technical, doesn't it?
Fancy term, right?
I learned that from Brian Tracy. So that's the second stage, is to put some discipline into it, and to, you know, it's a self-management into that and into your group, into your team.
So if I was to, sorry to interrupt, so if I was to read this book, you go through.
I go through all this really, and structures on how to do it. We play games and do all that, and before you know it, you've got this cool stuff in there.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. It's I haven't read this, but it looks like a good read. So where do we find this? It's called
Finding Your Business Mojo.
Finding Your Business Mojo by Kevin. And where can we get hold of one of these?
If you go to kevingammie.com.
Yep.
See, I've got an ego. kevingammie.com, and it says buy the book, and you can do that. You can download the introduction, find out a little bit about the backstory of my life, the part that you've heard already, but in a bit more detail, and you can buy the book straight away.
Great. Now, what's the future like for you?
I'm really excited. So this Brisbane Small Business Group that we've got on Facebook, we got past 100 people, we got past 200, we got past 1,000 people. In fact, we got past 1,000 people only about, it was 2 years ago, last month sometime.
Oh wow.
But these days we've got nearly 4,500 people. So it's going gangbusters. It's really cool. I'm really passionate about having people interact with each other and work with each other. You see, I figured if I could create a business community that was working with and through each other, then that local economy would all rise.
Yeah.
And everybody would be more prosperous, right?
Definitely.
Simple economics. Now, what we're about to do is we're about to launch a school, what I'm calling BSB School Online, so that members of the group can help others with some of the basic stuff that they train, some of the simple questions that people, come along and pay them hundreds of dollars for, that they can come along and they can give that in a workshop format for only $100 or for less than $100. So that you can come and get a flavour of what that person's like, and you can solve that problem that you've got straight away. My belief is that if we're doing each other's workshop and we're finding out, hey, I really connect with what that person's saying, yeah, that one leaves me a bit cold, but that one's really cool. So, hey, I'm going to pick up the phone and give them a call and start doing business together. Yeah. And this is my goal, is that this group become a self-enclosed economy and start rising on that rising tide. And that is what I'm really passionate about. That's really cool.
And I love hearing that message. Because there's so many platforms online and on Facebook that are groups, and a lot of them have advertising, and everybody's out there to win for themselves. So I love hearing the story. I love hearing the passion and the real reason behind the group and bringing them all together. So if you wanted to get involved with the group, it's Brisbane Small Business on Facebook. Go check that out. I'll put a link on here and join. There's so many people, great people on there as well. I'm involved on that, so put that on there. I'll put the link for this as well, and really fantastic. I really appreciate you coming out.
Thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
It was great getting the story, and that's what we're watching, guys. You're watching HWH Network, and today it's all about stories. Till next time, catch you later.